Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Riyaz Hussain Junaid and I am delivering the video lectures for the course of Applied Electricity and Electronics. Course code is CEE103. This course is being offered by the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Kamsad University, Islamabad, WA campus for the semester of fall 2020. And this course is being offered for the program of Civil Engineering. Uh, this is a series of lectures, and today we are going to have lecture number 2. This is the first lecture about the course. In previous lecture, we have discussed about the overall information of the course. So let's start chapter lecture number 2. Let's first of all introduction and outline. Uh, so what is an electric circuit? We can simply define an electric circuit as an interconnection of electrical elements or components. So what are electrical elements? Just like resistance, capacitance, inductor, voltage source, just like battery or current source, or some kind of other energy source or component, just like diode or transistor as well. So just like let's suppose we have some kind of battery, uh, and we are connected a lamp to the positive and negative terminals of the battery. By connecting the lamp with wires, so you can see that some kind of current will be flowing, and then energy from battery will be transferred to the lamp, and then that energy will be utilized by the lamp. So you can see that what will be the components. That is, first one is battery, wire, and then some kind of element. We say that this is some kind of resistance. So objective of circuit analysis. What goal we want to achieve in the circuit analysis? And this is not to study various application of these circuits, but to solve and troubleshoot the circuit. That is, we don't want to study the application of the uh, uh, elements, but we want to solve the circuit. That is, we want to see that what will be the current through current passing through a element, or what will be the voltage across element, or what will be the energy and power consumed by a certain element. So want to solve that for that quantities. So how does it respond to a given input? That is, if we apply some kind of input, voltage or current to an element, so what will be the behavior of that element? How do the interconnected elements in this circuit interact? Obviously in this circuit we have only one element, but obviously we can connect lots of other elements. So how can we simplify that circuit, and how those elements will be interconnected and respond to the inputs? So next we'll see the system of units. So obviously before solving for any kind of quantity, we should have some kind of measurement system for various quantities. And we already know that we have a system of international units. So we'll discuss some fundamental units, and then we'll see that what are the derived units. Again, this is some kind of revision. So we deal with measurable quantities, just like we refer to current. Obviously we can measure current, we can measure resistance, we can measure temperature, we can measure flow of water or water, other quantities. So if we can measure the quantities, then we should have some kind of system with standard quantities. So measurement must be in a standard way. That is, we should be able to use the same and standard units. So such an international system measurement standard is the international system of units. That is, we call such system as SI units system. So in this system, also called as SI system, there are 6 principal units or basic units from which the units of all other physical quantities can be derived. This is very important, that there are 6 major fundamental units or quantities, and using those quantities we can virtually measure any other quantity, and we say that those quantities are derived quantities. So this is that list that there are six basic SI units. There's a length, and we measure the length in meter, and symbol for the measurement of meter is m. And then we have another quantity that is fundamental quantity, that is mass, and its basic unit is kilogram, and we represent that kilogram as kg. And then we have another basic our third fundamental quantity, that is time, and we measure the time in SI system in second, and the symbol for second is S. Fourth basic or fundamental quantity is electric current, and we measure it in ampere, and symbol for ampere is A. And then thermodynamic temperature, we measure the temperature in Kelvin, and unit for or symbol for the basic unit is capital K. And then luminous intensity or light intensity, we measure the light intensity in candela, and unit symbol for the candela is CD. So these are six fundamental quantities. You can you know that there are so many other quantities just like speed. So for speed we don't need a basic quantity. We know that speed can be measured in meter per second. Similarly, if we want to know the units for density or mass density, so this will be mass per unit volume. So we have already unit for mass, this is kilogram, and for volume we have the unit meter cube. So we can define density unit as kilogram per meter cube. Similarly, for area we don't need a separate basic unit. We know that area can be defined in meter square and so on. So these are fundamental quantities, or other quantities are known as derived quantities. So again, system of units, let's continue it. The advantage of the SI units is that it uses prefixes based on the powers of 10 to relate larger and smaller units of the basic to the basic unit. So we know that there are certain quantities who has huge value, just like mass of earth, or star, distance of the sun from the earth, or distance of the moon from the earth. These are very huge quantities. So if we want to express these quantities, we can use prefixes of the powers of 10, and we can easily name those prefixes, just like we can see from this table that 10 power 18, it has a name, that is exa. That is, we can say that some quantity is exa meter, exa kilogram, and so on. So symbol for this is E. Similarly, 10 power 15, this is peta. We already know that we can measure memory just like petabyte or terabyte. So symbol for peta is P. And 10 power 12, this is tera. Again, it means that 10 power 12 or 10 followed by 12 zeros. Obviously, if we use this notation in simple notation, we have to use 12 zeros, so this will be very large and cumbersome. So we can use prefix, and symbol for tera is T. And 10 power 9, this is giga, and it is denoted by G. 10 power 6 is mega and capital M. 10 power 3 kilo and small k. 10 power 2, the 10 square, this is hecto, and it is represented by H. And 10 power 1, this is deca, and it is denoted dA. Similarly, we can use prefixes for the quantities that are smaller in magnitude, just like 10 power minus 1. This is known as deci, and symbol is deci. Already we have used some kind of unit, that is decimeter or decibel. 10 power minus 2, this is centi, and this is it is represented by C symbol. 10 power minus 3, this is milli, and it is represented by M. 10 power minus 6, this is micro, and it is represented by mu. This is a Greek letter mu. 10 power minus 9, this is known as nano, and it is represented by N. 10 power minus 12, and it is known as pico, and we represent it using small p. 10 power minus 15, femto, represented by F. 10 power minus 18, atto, and it is represented by A. So you can see that there's a huge advantage. We don't need to write all those zeros or in for those units. So now we'll be starting the formal part of the course because we'll be dealing with circuits. So fundamental thing that we want to discuss and define and measure, and its unit is the charge and current. So what is charge? Charge is an electrical property of the atomic particles of which matter consists. It is fundamental property, just like mass is the fundamental property of the matter. Similarly, charge is the fundamental property of the matter. It is measured in coulombs. Already we know that it is measured in coulombs. So a particle can be, from electrical point of view, there are three possibilities that a particle can be positively charged, negatively charged, or it can be neutral. That is, it cannot have any kind of charge. This is scientifically and experimentally proved that from electrical point of view, there are only three possibilities. So we know that fundamental particle of the atom is electron, and it revolves around the nucleus of the atom according to Bohr's model of the atom. So an electron contains charge that is numerically equal to 1.60 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb, and it contains negative charge. So it is denoted as E. So E is equal to minus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. So while charge on proton, and we know that charge on proton is numerically same but opposite in polarity. So charge on proton is plus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. Neutron is electrically neutral quantity. It does not have any kind of charge on it, but it has a mass. In 1 coulomb of charge, there are 1 upon E electrons, that is 6.24 into 10 power 18 electrons. So you can say that if we have a bunch of electrons that is in number 6.24 into 10 power 18, so you can say that they represent 1 coulomb of charge. So you can see that 1 coulomb of charge is a huge number of electrons. The only charges that can exist in nature are the integral multiples of E. This is again very important, that charge is actually quantized. It is not continuous flow of water, but actually it can exist in packets. So those packets are actually either E or integral multiples of E. That is, charge on a certain particle can be E or 2E or 3E or minus E and minus 2E. It cannot be 1.5 E, 1.25 or so on. So it can be only exist in the multiples of integer multiples of E. And also law of conservation of charges hold. That is, charge cannot be produced. It can be transferred from one point to another point, but charge cannot be created or destroyed. So this law is actually valid, just like law of conservation of energy is valid. Charges can be transferred from one place to another place. In circuits, we precisely achieve this important thing. So charge and current, this also continues. We can construct a simple battery using in fact, we can construct a simple circuit using battery and a conductor. So when a conducting wire is connected to a battery, the charges are compelled to move. That motion of charges creates a current. So let's suppose we have a battery and we have connected the terminals of the battery using wire. So what will happen, that charges will be compelled to move in the this direction. From conventionally, we assume that charges start from the positive direction, complete a circuit or a full circle in the circuit, and then recombine at negative charge, and then this whole process continues. But in actual phenomena, charges start from the negative terminal and end up at positive terminal. So this simple configuration is known as a circuit. Electric current is the time rate of the change of charges. So how we can define the current? Current is actually rate of change of the flow of charges or time rate of change of charges in a particular section of the circuit. It means that if we measure the flow of charges at one point, so we can find that how much that flow is with respect time. So it is important, it is conventional to take the current flow as the movement of positive charges, that is opposite to flow of negative charges. Historically, flow of charges were assumed, current was assumed because of positive charges. So, in this course, we'll also use that convention that current is because of flow of positive charges. It does not change any of the problems that we'll be solving. So, current is measured in amperes. Already we have mentioned in the SI system of unit. So how we can define the current mathematically? Already we have mentioned that current is rate of change of the charges, that is I is equal dq divided by dt. So this is actually a very simple equation, and if we solve for q, we can say that q will be integral of I with respect to time, that is integral from t0 to ti dt. In this case, you can see that I and Q can be function of time or they can be constant. Hence, 1 ampere is 1 coulomb per second. So, how we can define 1 ampere? So, if we let's assume we have a circuit, we connected a battery and there's certain kind of charges flowing in one part of the circuit. So if 1 coulomb of charge is flowing in 1 second, we can say that current in the circuit is 1 ampere. So equation 1 shows that current need not to be a constant. Obviously, current cannot be constant. It can be function of time. In that case, charge can also be the function of time. Anyway, if the current does not change with time, we call it a direct current or DC current. Obviously, there are two possibilities, that current can be constant or current can be changing. If the current is constant, we call such current as direct current or DC current. A DC current is denoted by symbol I. For circuit analysis, this is important that we use the labels for the quantities, and we should distinguish between changing and constant quantities. If the current quantity is constant, generally we assign capital letters, just like if current is DC current, so we assign capital I. And similarly, if there are more than one current, we can assign I1, I2, I3, or IA, IB, and IC to individual currents. An alternating current or AC current is a current that varies with time, that it is changing with time or it depends on the time value. An AC current is denoted by small I or I of t. You can see that there are a difference between the symbol for DC and AC current. So let's see some example regarding the charge and current. How much charge is represented by 4,600 electrons. So let's suppose that we have 4,600 electrons. So how much charge they represent or contain. So we know that since each electron has minus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb of charge, so it means that charge on 4,600 electrons will be 4,600 electrons multiplied by charge on 1 electron. So we can simply multiply these two numbers and the result is minus 7.369 into 10 power minus 16 coulombs. So you can see that in this case charge is negative because charge is represented by the electrons, and we know that charge on the electron is negative. And you can see that since we have huge number of electrons, still they represent fraction of the coulomb of the charge. Let's see another example. The total charge entering a terminal is given by Q of t is equal 10 minus 10 e power minus 2 t millicoulomb. Find the current at time t is equal 1 second. So in this case, you can see that we have a varying kind of charge. Charge depends on time, so we want to find the current at a specific time. Obviously, in this case, current will be different at different times, but we want to find the current at time 1.0 second, that is 1 second. So let's see, we know that I is equal to dq divided by dt. So in this equation, we can substitute the value as q. In this case, q is equal 10 minus 10 e power minus 2t. E, remember, is exponential constant, 2.71828 and so on. M stand for milli. So we can plug the value of q. So I of t will be d upon dt q, and q is 10 minus 10 e power minus 2t milliampere. In this case, since we have want to find the current, so current will be in milliampere. So we can differentiate with respect t. We know that derivative of 10 with respect to time will be 0, and this 10 we can take outside the derivative, and derivative of e power minus 2t is minus 2 into e power minus 2t. So we can simplify as I of t will be equal to 20 e power minus 2t milliampere. This is I of t for any time. Okay, you can see that there are no mention of time. So we can, if we want to find the current at time t is equal 1 second, we have to plug value of t at in this equation, and value of t is 1. So we will find I of 1, this will be 20 e power minus 2 milliampere. So we can simplify. Again, you can see that you have to use the calculator. So this will be 2.707 milliampere. This is the current at time 1 second. In this case, you can see that since q of t is not constant, obviously current is also not constant. Let's see another example. The current flowing through an element is given by I is equal to 4 ampere from 0 to 1 second. This is time, that is I is equal to 4 ampere from 0 to 1 second, and 4t square when t is greater than 1. So you can see that current is changing with respect time, but actually current is constant in the interval of 0 to 1 second. But after 1 second, current is 4t square. Want to calculate the charge entering the element from t is equal 0 to t is equal 2 second. How much charge will be entering in the element from the time of 0 second to 2 seconds. So again, we can use same equation, and that is that equation describes the relationship of current and charge, and we know that I of t is equal to dq divided by dt, and we mentioned that q of t will be equal to integral of I of t dt. Because we want to find numerical value, so we must know the limits for this integral. And since we want to find the charge from time 0 to 2, so this integral will be from 0 to 2. So in this example, uh, q will be equal integral from 0 to 2 I of t dt. So now we have to plug the value of I of t in this equation. You can see that I of t is actually consists of two intervals from 0 to 1, and then from interval t greater than 1. So it means that in this integral we have to break this integral into two integral. First integral will be 0 from 0 to 1, and second integral will be from 1 to 2. So q of t will be equal to integral from 0 to 1, and you can see that in the interval of 0 to 1, current is 4. So we have to plug a value of I of t as 4. Obviously, we don't need to use ampere here. Charge will be automatically in coulomb. So this will be integral from 0 to 1, 4 dt plus, because we want to find integral from 0 to 2, so next we have to include the integral from 1 to 2. So now you can see that we have overall integral from 0 to 2, but in for the interval of the time from t greater than 1, we can see that current is 4t square. So here integrand will be 4t square dt. So now we can easily integrate. We know that integral of 1 is t. We can take this 4 outside the integral, and this integral will be from 0 to 1, and then plus again we take 4 outside the integral. Integration of t square is t cube divided by 3, and this integral is from 1 to 2. we can carry the integration, and we know that how we evaluate the definite integration as upper limit minus lower limit of the integration. So this will be 4, and we substitute the value of upper limit is in this integration 1, so 1 minus 0, that will be 4 again. 4 plus 4 upon 3, we can take this 3 outside the evaluation, so 4 upon 3, then we can apply upper limit minus lower limit. So in this case upper limit is 2, so t cube means 4, in fact 2 cube, 2 cube is 8 minus lower limit is 1, so 8 minus 1 cube, that will be 1. So we can easily evaluate this using calculator. So q will be equal 13.33 coulombs. So in this case you can see that 13.33 coulombs of the charge is transferred from 0 to 2 seconds, or in between 2 seconds. So this is the end of the first lecture. I hope you have understand the basic quantities and problems regarding the charge and current. And next we will be further studying next part of the course. Thank you so much.